Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWS College Football. We are into week 9 already. I'm coming off a rough NFL Sunday, but you know what? Back-to-back winning college football weeks. So on the college football front, we got some positive vibes, some momentum heading into week 9, which was not the case earlier in the year. If you were following since the beginning of the season, a couple rough weeks early on. So it's nice to bring in some W's on the college football front. So we're getting started with a couple Conference USA games on Tuesday night. Let's go.
Welcome to the SWS. The SWS. Hey, get the SWS.
First up, Sam Houston State on the road at FIU here. FIU catching 5.5 points at home. Total sitting at 46.5 pretty much across the board in this one. So let's get into this matchup. We'll start with the Sam Houston State offense. As we know, this is a unit that wants to run the football. They want to move fast. 12th in run frequency, 15th in pace. And so far on the year, they've done a really good job at it. They're 39th in the country in yards per carry, just 79th in success rate per rush, 22nd in effective rush. Pass game has been a little disappointing. Hunter Watson got off to a nice start to the season, but since then, not great throwing the ball. Even though before he got hurt last week, he was throwing the ball well against Western Kentucky. Here are his numbers on the year: 984 yards through the air, 7 yards per attempt, 9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Like I said, last week before leaving the Western Kentucky game, he was 6 of 9, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, a 259 passer rating. So got off to a real hot start in that one. But then, like I said, he left the game with an injury, and we don't know his status, and that's important because the second half of that game with Jace Bauer at quarterback, Sam Houston State's offense didn't do much of anything. In fact, at halftime it was 17-14. They finished with 14 points. They didn't score another point in the game once Hunter Watson left with an injury. So we got to find out this dude's status before we place a bet on this game, especially because they're going on the road against FIU here. And not that this FIU defense is good, but they've actually done a great job against the pass this year. They're allowing just 6.5 yards per pass attempt on the season, 40.6% success rate per dropback, under 200 passing yards per game. Western Kentucky, that pass defense has been terrible. Jace Bauer couldn't even get the ball up and down the field against them. What makes you think he can go on the road and move the ball against an FIU defense that's been strong against the pass all year? So we really need to find out if Hunter Watson's going to play in this game. If you have any information on that, drop it in the comments, because they put out a press conference. They didn't give us any information. They released their depth chart, and Hunter Watson still is listed as QB1 for this week, but I don't think that means anything. So, yeah, if you have any information on whether or not Hunter Watson's going to play, drop it in the comments, please. Now, when it comes to Sam Houston State running the football, though, this should be a favorable matchup for them. They got off to a slow start in their first 2 games against Rice and Indiana, just 3.28 yards per carry, 26% success rate per rush. Since then, in their last 5 games, they're averaging 5.3 yards per carry as a team, over 48% success rate per rush, just about 260 rushing yards per game. So they've been running the ball successfully. And FIU, they've been strong against the pass. They've been weak against the run all year. Just 4.87 yards per carry allowed as a team, 46.3% success rate per rush. These numbers aren't practical joke terrible, but no question the weakness of this FIU defense is stopping the run. So you don't like to see that if you're FIU. But if Hunter Watson's not going to play in this game and Jace Bauer is going to be out there, FIU might feel comfortable throwing 8 in the box to take the run away. As we know, a one-dimensional offense is a lot easier to game plan for. Not to mention, FIU's defense has played really well at home this year. In their 3 home games, they're allowing under 24 points a game, 40.2% success rate, 5.06 yards per play. So they played much better at home. And Sam Houston State's offense has been worse on the road. In their 3 road games this year against Rice, UCF, and UTEP, just 37.1% success rate, 5.82 yards per play. Their numbers at home are much better. And yeah, okay, UCF, there's a talent discrepancy there. But UTEP has a terrible run defense. So does Rice. So the fact that this game's in FIU, the fact that Sam Houston State might be using their backup quarterback, Jace Bauer, in this one, this might be a tough spot for Sam Houston State offensively. He'll be laying 5.5, 6 points here. On the other side, we got the FIU offense, and in terms of play calling, they've been pretty balanced. 72nd in run frequency, 63rd in pass frequency. But if you've watched FIU football, you know that offense needs Jenkins to make plays through the air. The run game really isn't good. On the season, they're 117th in yards per carry, 126th in success rate per rush, 130th in effective rush. Their passing numbers look significantly better than that, 76th, 85th, and 103rd. problem is this Sam Houston State defense has been good, and they've actually been stronger against the pass. 41st in yards per pass attempt allowed, 87th in success rate per dropback, 60th in effective pass. Here are Jenkins' numbers on the season: over 1,400 yards, 7.7 yards per attempt is pretty solid, 10 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. These numbers aren't bad, but they don't blow you away either. The last 3 games, it hasn't really been the most efficient passing offense. 7.47 yards per pass attempt is okay, but success rate per dropback under 38% is not good. In fact, it was pretty much only the Liberty game where FIU took Liberty to overtime. That was the only game of the last 3 where FIU looked somewhat formidable on the offensive side of the ball. Really not a great game last week on the road in UTEP. And then 3 weeks ago against Louisiana Tech held them to points. So FIU's offense coming into this game not exactly playing their best football. That being said, Sam Houston State is struggling to stop the pass. In their last 3 games, they're allowing over 270 passing yards per game, 45.6% success rate per dropback, 8.27 yards per pass attempt. So Sam Houston State has been struggling against the pass, which is good news for FIU that likes to throw the ball. Problem is, when you look at who they played, I mean, Texas State and McLeod, much better than FIU in terms of a passing attack. Western Kentucky with Velkamp, much better than FIU in terms of a passing attack. UTEP's in there, but out of these 3, UTEP's the game where Sam Houston State actually played some solid defense. So we do have to put a little bit of an asterisk here. That we're looking at stats from the last 3 games for Sam Houston State against the pass. They played a couple of really good passing attacks in there. But the truth is, Jenkins might be able to make some plays on Sam Houston State's defense. Sam Houston State's pass rush hasn't been particularly good. 98th in pressure rate, 106th in sack rate. Not that FIU's offensive line has been anything special, but in terms of protecting the passer, 83rd in pressure rate allowed, 97th in sack rate. So they should be able to get Jenkins some time in this one, which is huge because Jenkins, when given a clean pocket, actually a pretty efficient thrower. QB rating, turnover worthy play rate looks fine. It's when he gets pressured. That's when he runs into some problems. So Sam Houston State doesn't have the best pass rush. Should have time to throw in this one. And he honestly might be able to make some plays through the air on Sam Houston State. Now, the run game probably not going to be there because the run game is never there for FIU. This is a terrible rushing team. Just 3.36 yards per carry on the season as a team, under 35% success rate per rush. And the Sam Houston State run defense is actually way better than the numbers indicate. They had 1 bad game on the road at the Bounce House against UCF, a top 25 rushing attack. They allowed 384 yards rushing in the game, 6.7 yards per carry, almost a 70% success rate. So this one game is skewing the numbers. Sam Houston State's run defense has actually been all right on the season. Well, in their other 6 games outside of the UCF game, they're allowing under 87 rushing yards per game, 3.06 yards per carry. So when you look at the numbers on the season, it looks like Sam Houston State's run defense isn't that great. It's a little bit better than those numbers indicate. And FIU, like I said, they can't run the ball anyway. So run game's not going to be there, but I think there's going to be opportunities for Jenkins to make plays with his arm. So I don't hate the matchup for FIU offensively at all. So in terms of a bet, it would only be FIU here. Plus 5.5. I see a plus 6. I would take that. The reason I haven't bet it yet, if Hunter Watson is playing for Sam Houston State, I really don't want any part of being on FIU here. But if Jace Bauer starting a quarterback for Sam Houston State and FIU defensively is able to load the box, do whatever they can to take the runaway and force Jace Bauer to make plays with his arm, I don't want to be laying a big number on the road like that. So give me FIU plus the 6. I'll let you know. I'll post it on the website and the Discord if I find any information. We'll talk about it on the live show as well. As of right now, FIU plus 6 or pass. Next game. Next up, we're talking the winning streak. UTEP Miners. We're talking Miner football. UTEP's on the road at La Tech here. Looks like La Tech's laying 7 or 7.5, depending on your sports book. I see a lot of 7s. I see a lot of 7.5s. Total sitting pretty much at 50. I do see a couple 50.5s out there. So let's get into this matchup, and we'll start with that high-powered Miner offense. As I'm sure you probably know if you follow Conference USA football, UTEP is an offense that wants to throw the ball. We've seen a little bit of a quarterback carousel this year. Started off with Skylar Locklear, then they made the change over to Cade McConnell. Now they have since switched back to Skylar Locklear. Cade McConnell got banged up, but I think they actually just switched back. And the reason is, look at these offensive numbers. They're 110th in the country in yards per play, 109th in success rate. I mean, look at their passing numbers. Let me repeat this. This is an offense that wants to throw the ball. This is a passing offense. They're 105th in the country in yards per pass attempt, 116th in success rate per dropback, 112th in effective pass. So the strength of their offense is 112th in some advanced metrics. Offense as a whole sitting at 127th in OFEI. This is not a good unit. That being said, as I was talking about last week, The raw data makes Louisiana Tech out to be this elite defense. We know that they are nowhere near this good, but we do have to give them some credit. I mean, they are 39th in the country in yards per play allowed, 10th in success rate. Numbers against the run, numbers against the pass look great, but if you look at their schedule adjusted metrics, I mean 112th, 112th, and 116th. So advanced metrics indicating that maybe this Louisiana Tech defense isn't quite as good as these numbers, as the raw data indicates. As I said before, Skylar Locklear back at quarterback for UTEP. His numbers, 953 yards, 6.6 yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. I mean, he hasn't been great. The only successful passing game we've seen from UTEP this year was against an FCS program, Southern Utah. 299 passing yards in the game, 10 yards per attempt. And the crazy part is they lost this game. They didn't even win. They lost 27-24. In the other 6 games, the passing numbers do not look good. Under 35% success rate per dropback. And that includes the game they won last week. So even their upset win didn't have successful throwing numbers. And as I mentioned before, Louisiana Tech on defense this year, the raw numbers look incredible. I mean, under a 35% success rate per dropback, just 6.48 yards per pass attempt allowed on the year. Now, as we said before, and if you look at Louisiana Tech's schedule, it does make a little sense. They've played nobody in terms of a passing offense. I mean, they haven't seen a single offense that can throw the ball yet.
Just wanted to put this in there real quick. So I said Louisiana Tech has played nobody in terms of a passing attack. That's not exactly fair. They did play Middle Tennessee, and they played Middle Tennessee well. And by Conference USA standards, Middle Tennessee is a decent passing attack. So if you're a Louisiana Tech fan and you might have gotten triggered by what I just said, they did play Middle Tennessee, who can throw the ball. So I'm including that.
But I mean, UTEP is not an offense that I would exactly classify as capable of throwing the ball. I mean, they certainly try. They haven't been very efficient. Now, if you are looking to take the 7 points with UTEP here, you can point at the fact that Skylar Locklear will most likely have time to throw. Louisiana Tech's pass rush hasn't been anything special. 111th in pressure rate, 70th in sack rate. And UTEP's offensive line, not that it's been good, but it's definitely been the strength of their offense. The problems UTEP is having offensively is not on the offensive line. I mean, we're talking about missed throws, drop passes, all kinds of mistakes. Offensive line, in terms of Conference USA standards, has actually been all right. I mean, they've been decent as far as creating space in the run game. They've been decent in pass protection. So Skylar Locklear probably will have time to throw in this one, and his splits definitely look better when he's been given a clean pocket. So there's something. If you're looking to bet UTEP, you can say, hey, Skylar Locklear is going to have time to throw. I think this Louisiana Tech defense is overrated. I mean, it's something. The problem with putting faith in the UTEP offense is whoever's playing quarterback, whether it's Locklear or McConnell, they just never have run support. In their first 6 games, they were averaging 3.11 yards per carry as a team, under a 40% success rate per rush, 98.3 rushing yards per game. Now, you can point at the teams and say, hey, they saw a lot of tough run defenses here. Nebraska, that's way out of their league. Colorado State actually playing well in terms of the defensive front. Liberty, obviously. Sam Houston State has an underrated run defense, and Western Kentucky is strong against the run. So it was really just Southern Utah, the only defense they saw in those first 6 games where it was like, they should have ran the ball in that one. Last week against FIU, they saw a bad run defense, and they actually ran the ball. 4.59 yards per carry, 48.9% success rate per rush, 211 yards on the ground in that one. So maybe UTEP finding some confidence in the run game. Problem is, I mean, on the road at Louisiana Tech, they're allowing 3.26 yards per carry as a team this season, 35.8% success rate per rush. So I think last week's win for UTEP brought back some of their confidence in terms of running the ball. So I do expect to see UTEP try to run it. I don't think it's going to work personally, but I do think they're going to be diligent and try to run the ball in this game. Maybe UTEP's able to move the chains here and there. Overall, though, this UTEP offense is not a unit I believe in personally. On the other side, we got Louisiana Tech, and this is also an offense that wants to throw the ball. 43rd in pass frequency so far this year, and unlike UTEP, they've actually been somewhat successful with it. Not great. They're 68th in yards per pass attempt, 113th in success rate per dropback isn't good, 73rd in effective pass. Like Utah, they've been really struggling to get the run going this year. 115th in yards per carry, 119th in success rate, 117th in effective rush. If you're a Louisiana Tech fan, you've got to be pumped with what you've seen from Bullock so far this year. Baker broke his collarbone. We weren't even sure who was going to play quarterback, whether it was going to be Jack Turner or Bullock. It ended up being Bullock, and he's been really good. 783 yards, 7.2 yards per attempt, 8 touchdowns, no picks. In the games Bullock started, La Tech is averaging 260 passing yards per game, 7.73 yards per attempt, 40.9% success rate per dropback isn't great. We also have to point out, I mean, Middle Tennessee's a terrible pass defense. New Mexico State, terrible pass defense. But FIU is actually somewhat formidable against the pass, so I mean, there's something. Overall, though, the Bullock numbers might be slightly inflated due to playing two terrible pass defenses, which brings us to the question, is UTEP a terrible pass defense? And I don't think it is. The truth is, they got lit up through the air when they played elite offenses. Nebraska, Liberty, and Western Kentucky. All three of those offenses are way out of UTEP's league. In those three games, 9.9 yards per pass attempt allowed, 48.6% success rate per dropback, 258.7 passing yards allowed per game. Look at their pass defense numbers in their other four games against offenses that are a little more in UTEP's league. Just 6.7 yards per pass attempt, 36.6% success rate per dropback, 168.3 passing yards allowed per game. So this UTEP pass defense might not be nearly as bad as we think. Last week against FIU was a great showing for UTEP's pass defense. They held them to just 202 passing yards in the game, 33.3% success rate per dropback. And FIU, in terms of a passing attack, is not that bad. That's a solid Conference USA passing attack with Jenkins. So maybe this UTEP pass defense is actually solid. The problem with this UTEP defense has been stopping the run. I mean, they can't stop the run. 5.22 yards per carry, 47% success rate per rush, 235.8 rushing yards allowed per game in their first six. Then they saw FIU, a team that can't run the ball, just 2.58 yards per carry, 29% success rate per rush, just 85 rushing yards allowed in the game. Why is that significant? Because now they're playing Louisiana Tech, another offense that can't run the ball. Louisiana Tech is averaging just 3.05 yards per carry as a team this year, 37.2% success rate per rush. So in my opinion, Louisiana Tech is not an offense that can exploit the weakness of this UTEP defense, which is the run defense. So I think UTEP, that pass defense, is a little bit undervalued. I think Louisiana Tech offensively as a whole is overvalued because Bullock has seen some really bad pass defenses. I think UTEP's defense is able to give La Tech some problems, which is why I'm on the under here. I bet it at 50.5. I honestly don't think it's a terrible idea to look at UTEP plus 7.5. The reason I'm not touching that, I don't trust Skylar Locklear and the UTEP offense at all. I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball on La Tech, so I feel more comfortable on the under. The reason it's up there at 50.5, you might listen to this and be like, well, why is it at 50.5? Both these teams throw the ball a lot. Louisiana Tech runs a quicker pace, so obviously they're not going to give you like a 44.5 with a team like that. But I truly think both offenses are going to struggle. Obviously, it's a Tuesday night Conference USA game. Please bet responsibly, but I did place a bet on the under at 50.5 here. If you'd like to see all the bets I have open in the daily bet reports, head over to KyleKirms.com and click on open bets. You'll see all mine as well as everyone else on the staff here. Also, if you sign up to Sauce Network Plus, it comes with access to the Discord, and you can participate in the weekly betting league. $150 on one of these trophies go to the winner every single week. So if you're interested, head over to the website and sign up. Live show, 4 p.m. Eastern time. We'll go through these games. We'll talk about MLB playoffs. NBA is starting off. We'll go through the NBA games as well. That's at 4 p.m. Eastern time. If you're able to make it, we'd love to see you in the comments. Let's have ourselves a good college. Let's go for 3 winning college football weeks in a row. How about that? Please remember to bet responsibly. Talk to you later.